Hi everyone. In today's interview, we are having Aditya Malhotra. Such an interesting personality you can see, and he is a head of growth at Deciml and he is based in Pune. So Aditya, I was going through a lot of social media posts about Deciml, about yours. The thing you guys are doing, it's very interesting. So I want you to introduce yourself and your company to our audience. Over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Komal, for those kind words. I'm Aditya, like you said. I work as the head of growth at Deciml. Essentially, that covers all things marketing, user acquisition, user insights, retention. A mixture of growth and marketing is what I do with Deciml. Uh, Coming to what Deciml is, Deciml, it's essentially a roundup investing app. At its core, its mission is to increase the investment penetration of India, which is at very low levels, especially when you consider the equity markets. So, what Deciml does is it can detect your online spends, whether that be through UPI, whether that be through credit card, debit card, net banking, and rounds it off to the nearest 10, and then goes ahead and invests it on your behalf. The core proposition of Deciml, of course, is that you don't necessarily need to have a large sum of money to invest, which is one of the barriers to entry where a lot of people drop off, right? I think largely that's what Deciml does in its current form, at least, which is roundup investing.
Yeah, because I was going through, a lot of decimals posting and all. What I've read there is you start from even rupee one, right? There is, like you just mentioned, there is no minimum. So rupees one also you can start.
Yeah, so at a product level, you can start at rupees one. We also have mutual funds as an investment instrument. The minimum investment is 10 rupees.
Nice, awesome. So Aditya, could you please share with us some insight into Decimals journey?
So firstly, Decimals core proposition is simplicity. Everyone does have the intent to invest. The core proposition of Deciml to get to where it is today, and of course, there's a long way to go still, but it largely is attributed to the simplicity of things, simplicity across the product, across the UI, UX. We already spoke about the minimum investment amounts. So it comes down to, if you do want to start investing, typically the minimum threshold was about 500 rupees, or there was a phase when there were a lot of these gaming apps where you could, not use real money, but just have, these coins or whatever platform currency that they had, and you could test out investing. The not a problem with that, of course, but one of the drawbacks I'd say was that it's still not really your money. So from an intent standpoint, you may understand, you may not understand, but since there's nothing on the line, possibly the adoption and understanding was low. So simplicity also comes from the fact that at a product level, you can invest as low as 1 rupee or 10 rupees, depending on the fund you choose. And you can actually, on a day-on-day basis, see how your money is growing, what risks your investment is associated with. Because it's never a linear upward graph, right? There's always a bit of up and down. There's a little bit of volatility in the markets, which also scares away a lot of people, because typically it's a capital preservation mindset, especially when you talk about India. So jitna hai, that should at least be safe, and growth can be looked at later. Now, again, the youngest population, India has one of the youngest populations, and active working age population as well. Coupled with the growth story India projects itself over the next 10, 12 years, I think the investing space is going to be a very exciting space. But to onboard more people, and the mindset that we've been carrying over as a country for the last 50, 60 years, I do think simplicity is the core of everything.
Yeah, that's very interesting because, previously investment means it's like not secured. But
Yeah.
thanks to technology, whatever it's going on, we get to know, okay, this is coming new things into like Bitcoin and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
very interesting part. And people are getting more smarter and smarter because they have money. A lot of people, they want to invest. So I think Decimal would play a crucial role in that. So could you please shed your some light on how Deciml's helping to increase the investment penetration in India, which has historically been quite low despite of several efforts?
Sure. So if I had to just tell you that, on the streets of India, if you just ask someone, is investing a good idea? You're going to get a very resounding yes.
Yeah.
So where exactly is the gap in terms of, the intent to action? And that's what Deciml primarily exists to serve. One is there is a perception that you need a lot of money to start investing, a lot of money to have that sort of astronomical growth, see those sort of returns. You've heard of stories of people becoming millionaires through investing, for which you need to have a certain base, right? The second, of course, comes from the fact that there is a amount of time and effort that you need to invest. So apart from your money, because you don't want to just take bets in the market or gamble your money away. So there is a significant amount of time and effort that is required when you do have to start investing. At least maybe over time that becomes easier, but it is definitely a barrier to entry. And lastly, there's just an overwhelming lack of knowledge, which simply put, people will keep asking you, where should I invest my money? I know that I should invest, but kahan dalna hai? How can my money grow multiple times over? So, those are the 2 or 3 core problem statements that I think India as a country at large, and especially the younger millennials and Gen Zs, are struggling with. So that covering that gap of intent to action is what Deciml strives to do. The product features of low investment, multiple fund options, but keeping the fund options limited, so that it doesn't become overwhelming. That okay, now that I've onboarded, there are 900 funds. Now what do I do with my money? So you're still left with that same question, right? Of hey, where should I invest my money? So we understood some of these problem statements do exist in the market today, and to the best of our ability, we're trying to simplify.
Yeah, nice. So you just mentioned that people are not aware where to invest, when to invest. You come into picture. So for doing that, to public, to audience, there must be a lot of campaigns. You might be running across, and I have gone through your campaigns, which you have come up recently. So could you talk about it, core objective which your recent campaign is having, and how well do you believe it resonated with your target audience?
Okay, so the objective of the campaign, speaking from a purely marketing standpoint,
Yeah.
to, of course, get brand awareness. Since you mentioned you went through the campaign, you'd
Yeah.
notice that one of the assumptions at a marketing stage that the campaign takes into account is that you do have the intent to invest. So throughout the campaign, we don't talk about, hey, investing is good for you. We make the assumption that you do have an intent to invest, but you're probably struggling with some of those questions of having the amount to invest, or not having knowledge or time to figure out where to invest your money. So coming from that space, one is we collaborated with a lot of content creators. The core objective being brand awareness. Now, influencer marketing is something that a lot of brands resort to, right?
Yes.
So coming from that space, you might say there's nothing really unique on that front. But what we did do is all of these creators that we worked with, they're part of our own cap table, because we do believe that in terms of their following and them as content creators, they're some of the top content creators in the country, ranging from Bam to Zakir Khan, Ranveer Alabadia. So these are people that Gen Zs and millennials, especially young millennials, they definitely listen to, and they place a lot of value in what these guys have to say. Uh, Now, coming to how we actually went about it, and our objective, uh, as content creators, they probably have the largest distribution in the country.
Yeah.
And it's something that is definitely worth leveraging, because it has a very seamless overlap with who our audience is. To increase that market share and to increase the penetration, we believe that the intent lies in the 18 to 28, 30 age bracket, basically your first jobbers or people who are very early in their career. So probably the intent peaks at about 22, 23. And those audiences are not really included in our current ecosystem.
In terms of impact and reception, how successful would you say your latest campaign was, and what was the key learning you got from it?
The biggest impact I'd say is that 1 in 4 investors or 1 in 4 users of Deciml as on date are first-time investors. I would say that that's probably one of the larger impacts that we've managed to make through this campaign. We also noticed that at an activation rate level, so of course, you can go out there and acquire a user, but activation and first investment really is a true metric of intent,
Mhm.
which we saw almost double through the campaign.
Wow.
Earlier, if 1 in 3 people or 1 in 4 people were investing, now it's come down to 1 in 2 people who are actually going ahead and investing post downloading the app.
Mhm.
So that's another fairly strong impact statement that we noticed as a brand, and also validating some of the thoughts that we had
Mhm.
at an initial level, right? That there is the intent to invest. All you need to do is simplify for the audiences. And to a certain extent, I believe we managed to do that, which is why we saw some of these metrics play out the way they did.
Yeah. So Aditya, talking on these matrices, and you were like, it's a hit campaign. So could you share some important stories or experiences that came out for the recent campaign and how they reflect on Decibel's transitions?
So, interesting stories. There are a ton of interesting stories that a lot of stories that data tell you as well.
Yeah.
Into things like about 40% of the investments that are made on Deciml come through your online food transactions, right? Like, so also Zomato and Swiggy, those sort of apps. So it just in terms of interesting, what we noticed was the most interesting part was the use cases that people had for
Mhm.
the app. And of course, for the sake of user privacy, won't be able to take their names or anything of that sort. But there were users who were investing a significant amount through a lump sum in addition to their daily deposit. So the interesting stories came from the fact that people had self-created goals, and I wouldn't say short, but say short to mid-term goals, which they knew are achievable through investing, taking into account a certain amount of growth that the funds that Deciml provides has typically given over the last 2 or 3 years. So, yeah, what I think the most interesting part was that we realized that the narrative around investing has always been about goal-based investing. Uh, all you need to do is start investing, and just make sure consistency is the key. So, yeah, I think some of these insights were very interesting. Like I already mentioned, a lot of our users were first-time investors, but a lot of our users, in addition to being first-time investors, were also under the age of 25, 26. So the fact that you can get that audience to start investing their
Mhm.
money, which will be a significant portion of their salaries or income at that stage of their career, I think it's a very heartening sign for the Indian investing landscape as a whole, actually.
Yeah, Aditya, I'm sure, the age which you have mentioned, it would be very difficult for you also to make them understand, why you should invest, how much you should, because the waiting time is also huge, right? It is not less than 5 years. They should be in the market for at least 10 years to make their money grow. So for you, I'm sure it would be very difficult phase. You are acting like, it was very smooth, very, very cool campaign, but I'm sure behind that there must be a lot of efforts from your team side.
No, 100%. So of course, a lot of effort, a lot of initiatives from our end also that go towards educating our
Yeah.
customers. We speak a lot to our customers. So uh, a lot of the product and the simplicity that I spoke of at the top of the call comes from user feedback. We have a team that constantly is talking to users, trying to understand their problem statements. What what sort of app are they looking at, which can be their investment partner, right? Because another very important piece is that if you can start investing with a particular app, you build a significant amount of trust in that
True.
platform as well.
Yeah.
And we do want our users to trust us from a space of they're trusting us with their money, right?
Yeah.
And the amount of money is insignificant to the conversation, whether that's 1 rupee or a much
Yeah.
larger sum. The minute someone trusts you with their money, you are accountable to them, and it's your duty to kind of make sure that their journey is seamless. Any concerns or queries that they have are addressed pretty much on the spot. So, of course, a lot of work has gone in towards building that product to build at this scale, and a lot of awareness, content, and conversations that we had to happen. All the effort that we put in at a product and as a company or as people, it'll all come down to being worth it.
Yeah. So Aditya, after discussing this campaign, what I got felt is this campaign was more about the brand awareness and
Yeah.
educating the people, right? Now, what my interest is, what is the upcoming campaigns? Because this was the educating brand awareness. So there might be in your mind, what is the next campaign would look like.
So, one thing that we are going to focus on is, of course, continue to do brand campaigns at a fairly high frequency. Of course, with the creative angle associated with it, you saw with the current campaign that we did as well. While we did have some very heavy hitters from the creator economy that were part of the campaign, the storyline and the pitch is also equally important. Otherwise, you don't do them justice, nor do you do your brand justice. As a brand, we do definitely intend on continuing to not just build brand awareness, but also now start building towards some brand equity in the market, given that we are almost out there building a category with some players. Of course, there are some roundup investing players in the market already, but roundup investing as a category or as a subcategory to investing does look very promising. So, given that as a brand, that's one of the objectives that we have, uh, you can expect a lot of noise and brand campaigns coming your way in the near future.
So with decimals, we had a word like user space are below 25. There are a lot of increment and a lot of changes in the user space. So with decimals, the user space is growing at such an impressive rate, right? So how do you plan to maintain and scale the quality of your service, particularly as your audience evolves?
Very interesting question, right? So, one is, of course, we need to leverage tech. The fact that tech has opened up so many new gateways for us, and will continue to do so, will definitely come into play. We already employ technology in a massive way to try to reduce friction across various interventions within the app. So at an onboarding stage, at a withdrawal stage, uh, KYC stage, we already do employ technology, which helps us in a massive way. We will continue to do that more from a customer service perspective as well, engaging with customers, engaging with users through different media. That could be social, email, and just continue to have conversations with users. I think that's a very important part. So one is we will continue to be committed to the cause for making it as simple as possible for our user base. But there are some very interesting thoughts that we have as a way forward, which kind of cater to the fact that as your audience evolves, as a product, how can you evolve so that you continue to cater to their needs. Today, their need might be that I have a lower sum to invest, and I want to understand the investing landscape, but that's not going to be their question 2 years or 3 years down the line.
Yeah.
So those are two fronts that we will continue to work on. Technology will play an important role. User commitment will play an equally important role as well, which it has so far as well. And product evolution. What does the audience really need? If you can figure out how you can simplify and address a problem statement in a user's life, I think you achieve a lot by just identifying that and then addressing that head on.
True, Aditya. After listening to you, what I felt is the most important point which you as a decimal are looking into picture is trust. So
Correct.
only the main motive you guys are going into is trust, because in this money is involved and a lot of scams are happening here and there. So if I am also giving you, it doesn't matter how much money I am giving you, it's rupees 1, rupees 10, it's a hardcore money, right?
Yes.
So we earn it like, hardcore. So it's a trust, trust, and you guys are doing a great job in that, I must say. So a lot of campaigns, you are coming up, the campaigns you did, I must congratulate you for that, for the successful campaign, and I wish you all the best for the future campaigns. Any last minute words for our audience you might want to share?
Last words would, I mean, mainly come from a space of, with Decimal, and since we were talking about Decimal, I'll keep it centered towards
Yeah.
that. Is that in general there are a lot of misconceptions around money investing. There's a lot of a feeling of being overwhelmed around when it comes to money, especially at an early stage in your career. So I just tell people, start working towards, understanding money management, start leveraging some of these tools. Technologies come a long way, and try to simplify things with Decimal and outside of Decimal as well. So instead of being overwhelmed and, not knowing what to do with your money and finding yourself in a tricky spot down the line, just the first step is always to start. So just take that first step, start reading up, start, gathering that knowledge base, because with knowledge comes confidence, and with confidence will come action.
Awesome, awesome. It was lovely 2 cents, and thank you so much. We might catch up soon whenever I'm in India. So, yeah, thank you.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.